19-year-old Faith Hedgepeth found dead in her off-campus apartment.
A laundry list of potential suspects.
In 2012, college student Faith Hedgepeth was found brutally beaten to death.
There's blood everywhere.
Police immediately suspected that the killer was someone Faith knew.
We assumed it was a crime of passion.
Though there was DNA everywhere, police haven't made an arrest.
There's not enough evidence to bring any charges against anybody.
Could a violent ex-boyfriend, a cryptic note, and a chilling voicemail unlock the mystery?
I hear Faith screaming for help, and I hear someone hurting her.
Faith's loved ones suspect someone knows more than they're telling.
Somebody knows, and someday she will get justice.
Who killed Faith Hedgepeth? Faith Hedgepeth was a beautiful and popular sophomore at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Faith was a very bubbly and energetic person.
She liked everybody and she thought there was good in everyone.
But Faith's social life had landed her on academic probation. She lost her scholarship and took a year-long leave from school.
Faith had associated with some bad company and saw the error of her ways.
By September 2012, Faith was back on track towards becoming the first college graduate in her family. She was temporarily staying with her friend, Karina Rosario.
Her and Karina were very close. They shared a lot of things.
On the night of September 6th, Faith and Karina went out to a Chapel Hill club called The Thrill.
Faith and Karina were at the club 11, 12, 1 a.m. They were seen arguing there with some people.
Karina had too much to drink and got sick, so Faith took her home around 3 a.m. But surprisingly, 90 minutes later, Karina called a man she was dating to pick her up and take her to his apartment.
Eventually, Faith goes to bed, and Karina leaves to go out with Jordan.
Less than 7 hours later, Karina came back home to a gruesome discovery.
Dial 911, where is your emergency? I just walked into my apartment and my friend just she's unconscious.
Unconscious was an understatement. Faith had been sexually assaulted and bludgeoned to death.
It was a mess. There was blood on the wall, on the floor, and on her body.
As the news spread, Faith's friends and family were shocked that anyone would want to harm her.
I thought everybody loved her just as much as I did.
Apparently, Faith had an enemy.
Right away, police believed that the killer was someone Faith knew. The violent nature of her death seemed personal, not random. What's more, Karina told investigators that she hadn't locked the apartment door.
Whoever killed her was mad at her. They clearly had a lot of rage to inflict that kind of damage.
The DNA recovered at the crime scene was male, and there was only one man who authorities learned had been angry at Faith Hedgepeth.
There was some serious tension between Faith and Karina's former boyfriend, Tocoy Jones. We know that Faith took Karina Rosario to get an order of protection. We are quite sure that Tocoy Jones was not happy about that.
One friend even told police that Tocoy had threatened to kill Faith if she kept Karina away from him. And just before her death, he posted a cryptic quote on Facebook. But Tocoy Jones willingly took a DNA test, and it wasn't a match to the killers.
Who could have done this to her? My mind didn't go to Tocoy.
Police took DNA samples from hundreds of people who came in contact with Faith, including Jordan McCrary, who picked Karina up that night, and Brandon Edwards, another ex of Karina's who had been at the club with them. None of them matched the DNA from the crime scene.
Have we had a comparison or a match with that DNA? No. It doesn't mean that that individual didn't have knowledge of the crime.
As time went by, Faith's family couldn't believe that no one had been charged.
Of course, we believed it was going to be solved right away.
Then, a voicemail surfaced that gave them hope.
On the night that Faith was murdered, I received about 3 missed calls from Faith.
One of the calls left a 3-minute message. It was a pocket dial with loud noise in the background. Una had initially deleted it, but she asked police to recover it. When they heard it, Faith's family said it sounded like a recording of her death. The voicemail was garbled, but Faith's loved ones said they could hear her crying out for help.
I hear her scream several times in the background. I hear her saying, "Help me, get off of me."
Investigators determined that the time of the call, 1:23 a.m., placed Faith at the Thrill nightclub with Karina, not at home alone. Did she accidentally record a fight that took place just hours before she was murdered?
At least one forensic audio expert put words to that call, and they were ugly and loud and assaultive in nature.
In addition to Faith, there were male and female voices on the tape. And when police revealed a strange note they found next to Faith's body, it only added to the mystery.
It stated, "I'm not stupid bitch, jealous."
I think it could have been a jealous girl, a jealous friend who wanted what she had, but I also think it could have been a jealous guy who wanted her attention.
The note didn't seem to fit with the rest of the crime scene.
The bag is too clean, there's no blood on it.
Someone was clearly in an uncontrollable rage based on the blood evidence, and then you have someone who's very controlled writing this note.
Could there have been two killers?
Was it one person? Was it several people? Your mind just goes crazy when you don't have answers.
Faith's family believes someone close to Faith knows what really happened.
Somebody knows, and that somehow, someday, guilt or forgetfulness or a mistake will lead to who that person is.
In 2016, investigators released new information.
Police have released a composite sketch they believe could lead them to her killer.
A digital image called a DNA phenotype, reconstructed from evidence at the crime scene, shows what Faith's attacker might look like. There have been many leads, but no arrests.
I probably had 10 pictures sent to me, and every one of them looks like the phenotype. And every one of them had some kind of connection to Faith or somebody she knew.
We have a database as large as 2,000 people.
5 years later, the Chapel Hill police still promise they will solve the case.
Bringing justice to Faith is on our forefront. It will always be. And we continue to work this as an active case each and every day.
But her killer is still at large.
He's out there and he could do it again.
Faith's family keeps her memory alive through a scholarship they founded in her name.
To a lot of people, she's the girl who was murdered at UNC. She's so much more.
They say they won't be satisfied until justice is served.
I want the person who did this to my sister convicted in court, and I want them to receive the death penalty.
Follow Still a Mystery for new episodes and updates.